As Spanish speakers, we often feel that our use of English is incorrect, whether due to our accent, our way of speaking, or other aspects. But why does this happen? What can we do as teachers to prevent this in our students? Well, in this presentation, I will talk about critical applied linguistics and ELT awareness. These are the questions I will address today. First, how do ELT materials like textbook, videos, exams reflect power and ideology? Well, English teaching materials such as textbooks, videos, and exams are not usually neutral resources as they reflect and reproduce power relations and ideological stances, especially in relation to cultural identity, which are harmful to our students. What do I mean by this? Well, some of these exercises promote linguistic hierarchies and the ideology of a standard English, often British or American, as the norm. This implies a power relationship as it privileges certain people while marginalizing others, reinforcing the idea that we all must speak correct English, in this case, American or British English. And this is why Latin speakers often feel that their native language and their way of speaking are inferior. Number 2. What ideas about correct English native speakers or success are promoted? Typically, formal grammar rules, proper pronunciation, or American or British accents are idealized. The variety of Latin accents is often ignored or diminished, and this has a significant impact on identity, as students may develop feelings of inadequacy or shame if they speak a different variety. It also promotes the myth that the native speakers are automatically the right teachers for English, leaving out those whose native language is not English. For this reason, students may tend to imitate an unrealistic model of native-like rather than embracing their own linguistic identity. So, this is something that we must keep in mind as future teachers because the most important thing about being a teacher is teaching with passion. Therefore, we must always encourage our students not to be afraid to speak and to feel empowered by their way of speaking. But what's missing? Well, we need more multilingual people clinging in their roots, and we need to contextualize classes according to the students' culture so they can feel validated. Number 3. How can teachers challenge those ideas? Well, as teachers, we must allow and encourage our students to use all their knowledge and skills, creating a more friendly classroom where students do not feel afraid to participate and test their knowledge. For example, we can do this inviting our students to share their own stories and experiences in the classroom. In addition, we must also keep in mind that Colombia is a country rich in cultural diversity, so we must include local context and diverse identities in our English classes. Finally, question number 4. What would a more critical and inclusive ELT practice look like? A more critical and inclusive ELT practice challenges the dominant ideologies mentioned before and actively promotes equity, cultural diversity, and identity affirmation. But how can we achieve this? Well, as I mentioned before, contextualizing classes is important as students can feel included by blending both cultures. Furthermore, this strategy can boost understanding of the context as it is a topic of interest to students. An example of this could be the cultural exchange of American slangs and some colloquial terms used in Colombia. This is something that I have used in my English classes before, and it was successful as students loved the activities. Another important aspect is reminding students that their accent is valid, as it reaffirms their cultural identity and there is no perfect accent or correct accent. Likewise, their roots are important too, An example of this could be allowing students to include materials, food, and clothing that reflect their communities and cultural identity in their activities. So, as teachers, we must be guides who encourage students to participate rather than impose what is correct or incorrect. To conclude, as a teacher or learner, we face a huge dilemma. Is it about adapting to this imposed model or resisting it through our own languages, cultures, and ways of being? Learning English or teaching English shouldn't mean giving up who we are or hiding our language or accent. Teaching and learning English goes far beyond mastering grammar or speaking like a native speaker. It involves facing a system based in ideologies that can reproduce inequalities. Through teaching materials and assessments, we can recognize the richness of the multiple ways people use this language in diverse contexts. And finally, truly inclusive ELT seeks to expand the possibilities for expression, thought, and belonging. Ultimately, it's about understanding that English belongs to no one and therefore can belong to everyone.
Thank you.